like right now.
Oh,
Yes,
we're live, pal.
we are LIVE and CLE to LAS.
But what episode is this?
This is, and I believe, don't quote me. I believe this is either 115 or 125. Two
You mean
fifteen.
two,
215.
215, a
215.
number I can actually bench
Yes.
because 225 currently gets stuck on my motherfucking chest.
Hey, that's awesome.
So there's a big difference. There's a big difference between 215 and 225.
There is.
Maybe not episode wise, but pounds wise.
Pound wise, it's tough.
So yes, another episode of Love and Chokes, the podcast that Anthony produces, that I am technically the talent for. Here we are, and oh
Oh,
shit,
the exclusive.
rocking that exclusive shit. Now I'm also rocking something else, and I don't even know if rocking is the right way to put it, Anthony.
You have it on?
But I have a little situation. I think it's premature to call it an injury,
Mm.
but there's some kind of nerve thing happening in my back,
Ooh.
and I got my first ever chiropractic adjustment yesterday
Mm-hmm.
because I was just at a loss for what to do, and the idea of being adjusted was brought up by someone who does PT. I don't want to name names because I don't know if they're even allowed to do this. So someone that does PT, and then I laid on a table. I crossed my arms. I brought my leg across my hips, and then I was squished, and then there was a noise. And it wasn't like one of those noises you hear on YouTube where it's like some famous chiropractor and some famous person, and I feel like they totally fucking doctor the audio on that shit
Yeah.
and turn it way up. But there was a pop and there was a good amount of relief. But then like hours later, it was the same.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, like, what am I gonna do about tomorrow? But fuck it, let's go to sleep. So I went to sleep. And to describe the pain, it's not like a constant thing. What it feels like is like every now and then it feels like someone takes like a thin piece of like metal, like a knife or a sword, but instead
Mm.
of it going in vertically, it's going in horizontally,
Yeah.
and it just goes like, and it just stabs the fucking shit out of me. And
Lower or
it,
upper?
my lower back,
Yeah.
and so it causes an intense amount of pain. And the next day, like this morning, I wasn't sure what the fuck to do, so I was told that what I needed was Big Daddy.
Big Daddy.
Now, what is Big Daddy?
Is that the little thumper thing? Bro.
No, Big Daddy is the actual name for a width of KT tape. KT tape is that stretchy tape,
Right.
right? And so let me show you Big Daddy. Let me show you. Let me show you Big Daddy. You tell me if you can see it. I'm gonna turn around.
Oh, I see it already.
Can you see that piece of tape in the middle of my back?
Yeah, I can see. Move forward a little bit, maybe. Okay. Yeah. It looks like. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yep. That's
Can
a
you see
lot.
my ass crack, or am I covering it well?
It was. You saw. We saw a little bit of it, so you're good now.
Oh no!
But you're
Well,
good.
that's for the Pornhub audience.
There you go.
Yeah. So I'm rocking this piece of tape called Big Daddy, and I'm doing some exercises called flossing, and just trying to make sure I'm on the mend. Today, I had to turn down a training session with, in my opinion, one of the most knowledgeable people in this game. The fucking powerful Henry Akins
Mm.
sent me the text like, "Yo, you want to train today?" And like, when someone like that asks you if you want to train today, and you know what that means for other people, like when I first met him, I was paying for my privates,
Right.
right? When I got a private from Henry, it was entirely worth every single fucking cent I spent on it. And they were hundreds of dollars. And now they're a little bit more, right?
Yeah.
And he's giving me his time, both because he's on the mend, he's trying to get back to a healthy body, so he wants to train and get back to being healthy. But he's also helping me a great deal. He's coaching me a lot. And so that's hundreds of dollars that I would have to spend to get that same level of training. And I just say no. I was like, no, I got to take the fucking week off. And like, that upsets me. But that's just more reason to like do all the right things and get healthy again quickly.
Yeah.
So that's a part of my day. So I have a new piece of tape and a possible new injury to manage for a little while. But
Yeah.
we will get through these things because they are not things that are made to stop us. They're just things to change the path of the road, they don't put a stop to the fucking journey, you know?
Yeah.
Like there's a boulder in this road. Cool. Let's climb over that bitch. Let's go around that bitch. We're not like, oh, guess we gotta go home. Like, no. Nothing stops the fucking show. Not a nerve, not a fucking bullet. Nothing stops it.
Nothing.
So we're still on the proper journeys. Let's see what else is going on in the streets. There's some funny things.
Yeah.
I got a delivery.
How was your delivery?
My final like belongings from Jess's old house had been delivered to my house. So like the TV, the box,
The box,
dude.
the dirty
the box with all the things.
So
there's dirty stuff in there.
Yeah.
There's stuff to bring me closer to my goals in there.
Mm-hmm.
There's also the packs. My vaporizer was in there.
Yeah, that's nice.
Right? So all kinds of things that make my life easier and better here in Las Vegas were in that box. And now they're back in my life, which is nice. But I would be remiss, Anthony, if we did not discuss the weekend's events.
Yes. Which one do you want to talk about? You want to talk about, punching and kicking or just punching?
What do you mean punching and kicking or just punching?
Well, there was
there was boxing and there was MMA.
Yes.
There was also pro wrestling.
Yes.
And pro wrestling that involved MMA.
Yes.
So let's start there because that interests me the most and probably our audience the least, and then we'll build it.
And wasn't what's his face on the card too?
Cain Velasquez versus Brock Lesnar took place.
Right.
In pro wrestling.
Didn't they also have
Tyson Fury was also on the card.
Yeah.
Tyson Fury versus Braun Strowman also took place. And I think those matches are in sharp contrast. So I think you can tell that they have like different visions for people's role in the company by how they treat people in these kind of pseudo one-off events. So Brock versus Cain is it opens their show. It's like the first match on their card, right?
Right.
And it's essentially what in the industry people would call a squash match. Brock went over pretty quickly. Now, to make it even, they did protect Cain Velasquez to a degree. Cain throws a head kick that quote unquote knocks down Brock.
Yeah.
He closes the distance, gets on top for the ground and pound and half guard, and Brock catches him in a Kimura, and Cain taps to the Kimura. The whole match lasted maybe 3 or 4 minutes.
Okay.
Right? So in that sense, they protect Cain. They don't let Cain Velasquez stay in the ring so long that you start to see the things that he's weak at. They only basically showed like what essentially looked like a light sparring match to someone that had eyes for fighting. It was like, oh, they're touching, but they're not touching. And,
right.
Like things are getting covered, right? Like you go down to the head kick, but you had your hands up, right? So you're not hurt. You're not taking a shoot head kick and then falling down and then catching the Kimura. Everybody's protecting each other, but you're also protecting the idea of Cain as being very dangerous by getting him out by submission quickly so that you don't have to see any of the holes in his game.
Right.
Right. But he still loses, right? Cain loses against Brock. So Cain doesn't get to come in and win the WWE title on his first night at work. He doesn't get to do that.
Right.
So he loses. Tyson Fury, however, wins. He gets over. Now, the way they did it also protected their star. They had him lose by count out, which was essentially a knockout. Like he punches Braun in the face, Braun falls down, falls out of the ring, and is out, and they count him out, essentially, right?
Right.
So Tyson Fury wins, but Braun Strowman doesn't get his ass beat, doesn't get pinned, just loses, right? So everybody's protected. So that's how the boxing and MMA world ended up showing itself in Saudi Arabia, which should have been the most interesting part of that WWE trip.
But it wasn't.
But it's not.
I know. I'm excited to hear what you're going to tell me.
So the people from WWE, outside of Brock, Vince McMahon, anyone that didn't have a private jet ready for them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anybody that was waiting on tickets issued by WWE were held in Saudi Arabia. Were not permitted to leave. Now, like some people are saying it was a mechanical failure, but the wrestlers seem not to believe that there was any mechanical issue whatsoever, that there was more of an issue about payment. And that's why they got stuck there. And a lot of guys are saying they're not fucking going back. There were people before they even went the first time that said they were never fucking going, right? So that's interesting. It was also interesting that they had a women's match, and I guess that's what everyone's talking about. But the women's match, even though it's a historic thing, they wrestled in t-shirts
Okay.
over their gear, right? So like they're still wearing their gear, but they had t-shirts on. It looked very strange to me, but I'm happy that the women in that audience got to see that take place.
Yeah.
I think that was neat. But besides that, like I didn't need that match in any way. Like I would need that match if it looked like a regular match. The fact that they wore t-shirts, like I get it. I really do get it. But I still find it to be silly. Like I'd rather not wrestle. If they were like, you can wrestle in a t-shirt, I'd be like, no.
No.
For real, I would be like, no.
No.
Like
Yeah.
I don't want to entertain these people if they don't want to come to me.
Yeah.
Like, I gotta come to you, and then I gotta come to you like in a cultural way. Like I fly to you, but now I have to like abide by like some strange cultural standard where you're afraid to see my body and what I would normally work in, and we're gonna act like you don't normally watch the product. Like you don't know what my fucking outfit looks like, but if I see you in person, I gotta wear a t-shirt. Like this is all silly.
Yeah.
And like I guess they're pushing things toward modernity, but it's not fast enough for my take. So I would have stayed home. So that's my take on the WWE shit. Now, did you watch the UFC?
I could not. I was surrounded by little small children.
Did you see the cut on Nate's face?
I did. I did. Ooh, I wish I could pull up the thing because there was a guy who broke it down in terms of like the risk level for all the cuts on the face. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Like he broke down where you should definitely stop depending on how much damage and how irreversible it is depending on surgery and how it should
Yeah.
be like I think the way they described it is that the way Nate's eyes were, it was like, all right, yeah, this was acceptably stopped. It was acceptably stopped because of what the damage that was there.
So I would say it's an acceptable stoppage. I understand the blowback, especially like that emotional letdown if you're in that audience and you came to see the BMF, the bad motherfucker title, and then it gets stopped on a cut, right? I can see how that's disappointing. However, like the safety of the athlete is the most fucking important thing. And just because Nate gets cut a lot doesn't mean that that's the right thing. Like his cut was deep as fuck. Now, like we can argue about placement, right?
Yeah.
And about how dangerous it really was. But like the fact that he gets cut deep on a regular basis doesn't make me feel better about the cut that he's dealing with in that moment.
No.
It doesn't change anything. Like the doctor has to look at these things independently. I think that's the safest way to do it. He can't be like, well, this guy gets cut all the time.
All right.
Fuck that. Fuck that. Like, now, is it disappointing? Of course it's fucking disappointing, dude. Like, do you think I didn't want to see a 5-round war? But I didn't see a 3-round war, to be quite honest.
Wow.
I saw Masvidal beat up and control Nate Diaz.
There's a lot of 10-8s from what I saw.
He beat his ass.
Yeah.
And there was never a point where I really thought that Nate was winning. You know, like he was surviving. And then like we can make this narrative like, oh, in the third he was coming on. We also don't know if Masvidal realized he had two rounds deep in the bank and took round 3 off to some degree.
Yeah.
Because the clinching aspect went way up in round 3, right? And so like maybe he's resting in that round knowing that 4 and 5 are going to be tough because this dude runs fucking triathlons and shit. Like it's difficult to tell the strategy because of the way that things played out, because things were stopped earlier than they normally would have been, but they weren't stopped too early.
No.
Like that's an emotional response based on like wanting to be a fan of Nate and wanting to see that fight come to a more traditional conclusion. But like the fact of the matter is that dude's eye was fucked.
No,
And like,
yeah, no.
I was happy to see that fight stopped.
Yeah. Like looking at it in the aftermath of like looking like at the stitches and like looking at other doctors' opinions of what was happening and where it was, I'm like, yeah, I'm happy this dude stopped. And it was also kind of interesting watching the highlights of Masvidal because it almost felt like watching a man who was invincible. Like it looked like you were watching an invincible person. Like the way he came off, everything, the whole attitude. It was like, I'm here. It's like, remember how you had that same thing where you see Conor and you see him doing his movements before in the like locker room, and almost like it's been just preconceived in his head over and over and over again.
Yeah.
It almost seemed like Masvidal was in the same zone where it was just like, I can walk you down. I don't really care who you are, what skill set you have. You cannot touch me. You cannot hurt me. I'm gonna beat you. And it seemed like that the whole way through. And he did basically what Israel would do too, which is have fun with it too the whole time. Like I saw a clip of him getting kicked in the gut, and he's like, "Oh my gut, oh my gut," and he gets up and starts whooping him, running around, or he pretends to throw the knee. Like all
Yeah.
those things. Yeah, like he was
Yeah.
having
He was
fun.
enjoying his moment.
Yeah.
He was enjoying his moment. And I think he has another big moment on the horizon. Like, I know that Nate wants to run it back, but of course you want to run it back.
Yeah.
And and the fact that like you weren't trained, like according to your post press conference, like his post fight press conference, like he wasn't in top physical condition as far as he's concerned.
Yeah.
Right? He couldn't run in the closed to training camp. He couldn't run. And like, yeah, that sucks. Right? But we're not gonna run it back because you weren't in fucking shape.
Right.
Like, there's no reason to run it back because you weren't in shape. So like now let's say like yes, the sentence also came out like, yo, if you sneeze on me, if you breathe on me, I bleed. Okay, respect. So wouldn't you be even more diligent not to get fucking touched?
Right.
Like knowing that you don't have cardio, knowing that or the cardio you're used to, because the reality is he has cardio for fucking days, right? Compared to everyone else. So just that you didn't have your optimum cardio, it would behoove you to fucking make sure you don't get sliced up. And if you do, and they stop the fight, pointing fingers like it's because you stopped it. It's because you got touched. Like take full responsibility for it. Even though his press conference was fucking entertaining, and I laughed at everything he said, basically.
Yeah.
Right. If he were my friend or my athlete that I was working with, I'd be very disappointed in the true substance of what he said. I'd be okay with the fact that it may help him draw money. Does this make sense?
Yeah.
Like what he said draws attention to him, draws questions about the outcome, and will help him draw money. But if that's what he really thinks, I would be upset with that.
Yeah.
If he wasn't just out there talking to make sure the money came back to him, if he's like, look, this is basically everybody's fault but mine, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, like everything that happens is your fault. Everything. You got caught because of something you did. You know, you didn't have your knee where it wanted to be, so you couldn't run because of something that you did. Like, everything is your fault.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
I'm not into that passing the buck shit, even if it's comical. Not into it. But since he already did it, I hope it draws him money. I just don't think it's going to draw him the result on the timeline that he's hoping. I think Masvidal is going to fight for that belt.
Yeah.
I think he's going to fight the winner of Marty and Colby.
Yeah. If that ever happens. If that ever happens.
What happened?
I'm not saying. I'm just saying. Like, you know, it's always like something will happen with those two. It's like always.
No, you son of a bitch. Nothing wrong is going to happen to that card.
Okay.
Every fight that is guaranteed to happen on that card is going to happen on that card because we want it to, because we need it to, because we're on that card.
Right. I agree. But I'm. All right. Fine. Leave it alone. I'll leave it alone. But
You son of a bitch. It's your fucking bad juju throwing it all about the place. Just ditching juju everywhere.
I'm not trying to.
I said doo-doo. That's what I
Yeah.
really. You're just throwing
And
shit everywhere.
Hey man, just call it what it is. Spade's a spade.
You just call me a spade.
Yeah, just say what you can do about it.
So yeah, like I think he's gonna fight for the belt relatively soon. I think Dana even said he's not interested in running it back right now.
Right.
He's satisfied with that outcome because it pushes the narrative that they need. Honestly, like if Nate beat him, Nate going for the title is one narrative, right? It's one narrative, and I don't think they're completely anti that narrative. Not completely,
Right.
but he's got to win that fight against Jorge Masvidal in convincing, maybe even devastating fashion, in order to put himself in that conversation again. You know, where Masvidal had an incredible year, and is in that conversation now for sure. He's in that conversation. He will fight for the belt next. Nothing else will happen. He will fight for the belt next. That's my prediction.
Yeah. And then Mr. Till, his story.
Oh, you mean my boyfriend?
His story was wild. His whole story, all the story about it. Him not wanting to fight, him also not being able to possibly not even fight at all because of, I think, visa issues, and them calling up Trump to have him get it fixed, and then also because of Trump not being able to get his medical done in time at the same time. So all these things happening, and he still gets the decision win and possibly fighting for a title elimination match.
So I think people are making almost too much about what Darren said about not wanting to fight.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's really talking about like his inner monologue and his struggle with anxiety more than truly not wanting to fight. It's like because I've gone through that. See, this is a Darren thing, dog.
Oh, okay.
Y'all don't understand.
I got you.
So there's been moments where like real talk, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like before the year I won the Pans, I had trained before I started lifting with Matt. I trained harder at that point than I'd ever trained before for that tournament.
Right.
On the plane, I was like, man, I definitely don't want to lose. Like, what if I just get injured on the way? Like, what if I fell down and didn't have to fight? Like, I was thinking about like how relieved I would feel if I didn't have to step out on the mat at all, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is just a thought. This happened, like that thought happened in about a 3-second period of time, right? It didn't like haunt me for hours and hours and hours, but every maybe 6 hours, another thought like that would come up. Like slight variation of that thought. Like, so like if I want to tell the story that I wanted out, that's one way you could take it. Or I'm just sharing with you a moment of my thinking that shows you that there's this big spectrum that happens of emotion when you're about to compete. You are equally excited and terrified. And then like there's little peaks where you're like, I'm gonna fucking kill this guy. And then it's like, man, what if he fucking hurts me?
Yeah.
Like you just go up and down through that. Like, man, I'm gonna fucking win. Man, if I lose, what happens then? Will I be respected? Will I lose everything? Will people look at me differently? Will I no longer be able to coach? Will no one give a fuck about what I say? Like you start thinking about all this shit, right? But these are moments. These are like, sometimes they're fucking nanoseconds almost.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think his honesty about having that range of emotions may have misled some people. I don't think he was really like, I wanted not to fight. By the time he was ready to walk out, he was ready to fight.
I'll give you that, but I think I will say that he was ready to fight at that moment. But I think that people were right to say that because I mean, like all the other things too that he said leading up to that was like, I don't know, like is this fight not supposed to happen? Is it not meant to be today?
Well, this is also a very unique set of circumstances,
Yeah.
right? Like having these troubles that close to the fight, maybe not even being able to get there, getting there instead of being there for all of fight week, you're there 2 days?
Yeah.
Like these are challenges, but they're challenges that he overcame and got the outcome that he needed to get, and against an extraordinarily tough opponent.
Mm-hmm.
To move up a weight class and face a guy who just fought for that belt. Scary times in the streets.
Yeah. No, it's rough.
Scary times in the streets, but he made it work.
Yeah. And
that's why I really think there's greatness inside that guy. And I hope people didn't forget, like just because Masvidal made him go stiff doesn't mean that there isn't a lot of victories ahead of that guy. There's a lot of future in the tank for Darren Till.
Right. It'll be interesting to see him fight Jared Canar, whatever his name is.
Is it Cannonier? Is that his name?
Yeah, the something Gorilla. I don't know.
Is Gorilla on Gorilla crime?
I think so. I think it's Gorilla on Gorilla. Let me double check though.
Is that the fight they're talking?
That's the fight that makes sense to me if they're not going to give him the shot against Adesanya.
Well, I don't think he gets Israel. You can't just walk up a division and then
No. I mean Jared. Like Jared, they don't give Jared the title shot because he's like, I think he's 4. Yoel needs another win. Paulo Costa's out. So you got
Yoel Romero.
Yeah, Yoel needs a win. Paulo's out, and Jared's the next person. So they can't give Adesanya the Jared fight. I see that being a title eliminator. Jared versus what's his face versus Till.
Darren Till.
Yeah.
What are they gonna do with what's his face?
Adesanya.
Cuba.
Yeah, I don't know what he's supposed to do.
I think Cuba is fighting Israel.
You think so?
Yeah, I think God's soldier is gonna fight Israel.
I think Dana just told him that he's like, nah, you ain't fighting him.
Oh, word.
Yeah, I think Dana just put it out that he's like, they're not fighting.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then we'll have to see how that plays out.
Yeah.
It's exciting.
And then,
We'll-
your boy, Kevin Lee, just sends this man to the realm of the sleep.
Dude, I screamed. I was so fucking happy for that guy. I actually saw his brother today on my way out. I was heading to go teach at the other spot,
Mm-hmm.
and I was leaving Extreme to go teach at the Krav spot, and I was like, Keith, I just slapped his hand and walked away because I didn't have any time to talk.
Yeah.
I was so happy for those guys, man.
Dude.
Like, Kevin Lee's a nice guy, and I think he's one of the most talented guys in the UFC. And I think sometimes a change of scenery can bring somebody's level up to where it needs to be. And sometimes it's difficult to listen to someone telling you to change some very serious things about the way you move and do things and operate,
Mm-hmm.
unless you deeply believe in their history. And I'm not saying he didn't believe in the history of camps he'd been in previously, but I think it's very easy to buy into what's happening if George St. Pierre is in your ear telling you to buy into what's happening. And so they're like, yo, you need to have a low stance. Here's the strategy we're going to execute. So you're going to have a basically, like, if you change someone's stance, you've changed them as a fighter to a great degree.
Right.
That usually will be met with a great deal of resistance. Change your stance. Change how you walk, essentially, is what you're being asked to do.
Right.
If that's not GSP in your ear and Firas Zahabi telling you to do it, who knows if he makes the choices that brought him that win against Gregor Gillespie. So I'm just happy it's there. I would like to think that if he heard advice that was good and sound, that he would do it regardless. I would like to think that. I'm just talking about human nature. I'm not talking about Kevin Lee as an individual.
Right.
Human nature is like, okay, I've had this level of success doing things the way that I do them. Why the fuck should I change? That's human nature. So if the greatest of all time is like, psst, hey, psst, this is why you're going to change. It's a lot easier to make those drastic changes. And that outcome was unexpected for most people.
Mm-hmm.
The actual, like, the knockout finish was unexpected by me the way it happened, but I thought Kevin Lee was going to do it. I thought Kevin Lee was going to get the victory. I just didn't know exactly how. And I was surprised that it was by brutal head kick, but it was awesome. I'm very fucking happy for that guy.
He brained that dude. It's so brutal. They couldn't even put it in the slow-mo highlights for, like, you know how they do, like, they do the day after event where they do the slow-mo highlights of everything.
Well, he was all slumped and stiff, man. It was brutal.
Yeah, it was.
And that's a super talented guy. Like, don't go sleeping on Gregor now.
Yeah.
That's what people do. When someone gets put to sleep, people are like, oh, he's over. Well, he was 10-0.
Yeah.
So tell the 10 motherfuckers who he beat the fuck out of that he's nobody. He's got a bright future. And, like, obviously, I'm a believer in a KO loss doesn't equal the end of your career because we're coming off of one of those.
Right.
And we're about to fight the number 6 girl in the world, beat the fuck out of her, and go right back for that belt. So, like, one KO does not stop your career. It doesn't derail you to a great degree. It just puts a roadblock, like we spoke of earlier. It's a boulder for Gregor Gillespie now. Now, he'll decide what the path is to go over, through, or to break through that boulder. Whatever's necessary. He'll figure that out. But it's certainly not the end of the road for him.
That's fair. I will say this, though, and I'm not trying. This again, I'm not. You know what? I'll stop because I am putting bad juju in the air, so I will leave my mouth. I'll keep my mouth shut.
Do it. Say what you want to say.
I will say this. It's like when you get brutally KO'd like that, it's like for speaking of him specifically, especially with a guy who has like a nice win streak, it's like it's a good way to see what that person is made of.
No, I completely agree.
Yeah.
I completely agree. That's what I mean. Like, in fact, it's an opportunity.
Right.
You get to display your fucking ability to come back from adversity.
Well, now
we're gonna find out who you really are.
Yeah.
Gregor Gillespie, you're not a front runner now. Now we gotta find out what's in the fucking balls. You know, we're gonna find out. So I'm excited about seeing his future, and I think it's gonna be bright. I stand by that. I just don't know when he's gonna be at the top, but I think he's going to be at the top one day. Anthony?
Yes.
Do we have any weird news?
We do. I mean, yes. Man arrested. Fake cop joins a real police chase, then handcuffs suspects at gunpoint.
Say that again.
So a fake cop joins a real police chase, then handcuffs suspect at gunpoint.
And what did the real cops do in response?
So basically, what happened is that they were chasing. So this is what it was. They were setting scenes. So these real police officers were chasing these like group of 5 guys in a car down, and this like Ford Taurus with blue lights speeds in front of the officers, and like the guy pulls out on the side, like blocks the car off, and makes him slow down, and then gets out with a gun, and like holds them at gunpoint, and like handcuffs each one of these people, and then hops back in his car and dips out. And like
Like
he,
a fucking superhero?
yeah, basically like he comes in, he handcuffs them, search the drivers, like disarms them, and then the officers didn't know if he was a police officer or not, so they start yelling at him like, "Hey man, stop what you're doing! Hey, hey!" And then,
Stop, but don't stop.
but they couldn't get a hold of him by the time like they got over there, and he just hopped in his car and dipped out. And then like when the officers go look at the guys, it's like they got MDMA pills, codeine pills, Visine pill, or I don't know,
Visine, you
whatever.
son of a bitch.
Viavazin pills, and then one guy was like a murder suspect.
Holy
Yeah.
shit.
And so like that dude, but then that dude also got arrested too. They could pretend to be a cop because you can't pretend to be a cop.
No, you can't impersonate a police officer. Now, if he hadn't turned on blue lights, right? If he
Right.
had just like hit a maneuver where he got in front of the fucking speeding car and pulled a pistol out, was like, "Stay where the fuck you are," and then like detain these guys, I think he's still gonna get charged with something like unlawful imprisonment or some weird shit like that.
Right.
Possibly kidnapping.
Yeah.
These are charges that happen when you hold people against their will. But like impersonating a police officer in front of other police officers might be the ballsiest of all time. And the fact that it went off without a hitch,
Yeah.
that motherfucker should get a medal.
He
They
should.
should give him a medal.
They they can't because like I said, you don't know, man. It could be like that. Could be like that other weird news that happened to me in real life. That flat Earth guy. You don't know. It could just go wrong. Go completely wrong.
Oh,
you-
that's right. You had a flat Earth interaction.
Oh, it was the weirdest thing ever. So I had to be sitting at the airport for 6 hours today because of people's selfishness, and so because of that, it's truly selfish. Me and my girlfriend were not happy, but we sat there, and so.
Okay.
Well, we went to like the very secluded part of the airport because he started to work, and so we were sitting there, and you see this guy come in, and he has like the phone up, like he's doing like a YouTube video. Gotta get the camera in front of me, like this, and he's talking to the people. He's like, "Hello, fellow, flat earthers," and he's like has the planes in the background, and he's like talking about how like you see this right here. You see, people think that the Earth is moving, but do you see me moving while the Earth is moving? I don't think so. So therefore, I'm not moving. And he's talking about
my
like he's going
God.
into great detail. And I don't know if he's doing like a Instagram live or what, but apparently this dude's got like a convention in like someplace in Denver where he's gonna be like holding like people to talk about this, and enough people are coming here.
Look, if you think the Earth is flat, please find the edge of it and jump the fuck off. Like that would make everybody happier. You'd be happier. We don't like you see the edge. You would know you were right before you died. Everybody would be happier. But if it's not, and you just happen to roam the Earth until you die of starvation, I'm happy.
I just want
Anthony?
I want to know this. I want to get that. I want to get those. What's it called? His marketing skills. I want to know like what are we doing wrong? Like, are we not controversial enough?
You're like, why don't we have a summit in Denver?
Yeah, why don't we have a summit somewhere where we can just talk about nonsense like that? Like, yeah, guys, Jesus believes in you, and he believes the Earth isn't flat.
Whoa,
And we
whoa,
both-
sir.
no, he brought Jesus into it. It was hilarious. He started bringing Jesus into it. It's like he was a flat Earth Jesus because he doesn't believe in science. And remember,
Okay.
so if you believe in science and you're a Christian, you're the worst sinner of all. That's what he told us.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was. He was very strong about his beliefs, and he looked like a regular person when you saw him walking by. Nothing, no mental illness, no mental
You
signs.
would never know.
You never know, but I'm trying to
They
figure it out.
walk among us.
Yeah, but let's sign out, Darren.
I mean, we should make these motherfuckers carry signs, honestly.
Yeah,
Anthony, I know it's been a long day for you. It's been a long day for me as well.
right.
To say that I am tired would be an understatement. Your boy's exhausted.
Mm,
I'm gonna try to pull off Big Daddy
mm.
KT tape without yanking out all the hairs on my body.
Oh,
And then I think I'm just gonna have to fucking manscape that little section of my back, dude.
and ice.
And I don't think I'm very furry down there. I just have a feeling that when I go to pull this tape off, it's gonna let me know exactly how furry I
Whoa,
really
whoa,
am.
whoa, 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 dude. Let's do this. Let's do it scientifically. Hop into a shower, bro.
Oh, I should shower and then take it off
Yeah,
there.
like shower, like yeah. So how use the water
So
to
it's
help?
wet.
Yeah, so it's wet, so it helps a little bit. So you don't have to feel it like yeah, because you
All
just
right, I was gonna yank it off and then
yeah,
shower.
you're just gonna yank it off and then like just like don't you don't have to make yourself suffer for everything. Just like like start like get some hot like just take a hot shower, a cold shower, whatever you think will work. But just
Maybe I like suffering, Anthony. You didn't see what came in my box.
I don't know. I don't want to know what was in your box, dude. That's I don't want to know. I don't want to know. I already had enough weird.
I don't like fucking suffering. That's I have things to make other people suffer in my box. Anthony,
Darren.
it's been a lovely podcast episode. Episode 215. Love and Chokes podcast. My roommates have returned. I see dog food in their arms. We have things to take care of before I go to bed. Goodbye, internet. XOXO. Anthony, this is goodbye for real. Peace.